Hey y'all. So it's Monday, it's 9:10 p.m. I am really ready to end my day. I've been out, I'm back at my desk just to check some email, and I was thinking I would love to do a few minutes on names. I need names for these characters. It's gonna really start bugging me. It's gonna help me figure out who they are. And so I have opened up one of my favorite naming sites when I have no idea. Sometimes names come to me and it's just like, hey, this is their name. And sometimes they don't. So, and often it's like I do a little bit of work and I get inspiration from doing the work. So one of my favorite name generation sites is Fantasy Name Generators. And let's see, I've got Fantasy Folklore. I have to change my glasses because I cannot see. At the end of the day, weird things happen to these old eyes. Okay. Do they have any sort of okay, they have merfolk names. I don't know. I don't really like any of these names. So the name that's in canon for an Aquatican is Arendelle, Erendil. That was in the Ash of the Cinder story. That feels very elvish to me. It was very lyrical. I think it should flow. The other thing about this site is that it's got these weird ads that are very distracting. So sorry about that. But female, no, this is male. Male names, Wade, Hero. I'm not liking any of these. Let's see what kind of elven names they have. That, like a Tolkien elfish, name is going to be, okay, Morthal, Ardreth. It's got to be the hero, though, right? It's got to be like something that's not Erlon. I don't hate Erlon. I'm going to start I have a paper notebook because I do write notes both on the computer and on paper, depending on my mood and how tired my hand is. So, okay. Erlon doesn't feel like a hero name to me. Elnoril. Some of these are just too hard to say. Leonthorn. That's very like earthboundish. I want waterish. Eraladar. Errol. Adar. I like that. Errol. It could just be Errol for short. And I like spelling Errol, Eril, because it just feels more fantasy. But it's easy to say, it's easy to read. I'll just click through. Ilmar, Zoran, Aeson, Pharaon. Yeah, this is Yelendar. I do like a good Y. Yeseneth. None of there is Alrindal. This is interesting. But these are like too elvish, and I don't want them to actually feel. I want to give like the hint of elvishness without being elvish. Okay, we're done here. Are there any other kind of names? I don't know where I got Arendelle from. I might have just made it up. I have it written down in the notebook, but sometimes I'll write like, oh, does it mean something? Often I will give my characters names that mean something. So like, okay, let's take a look at my heroine, who we know she's a thief. She's a revelation, has to do with water. I used to like this site, Think Baby Names. The search has been broken for like years now. So let's see if it's working. And this is a good site because it gives you meanings. So let's say I wanted a name that had something to do with water, which feels like a thing I would do. And then, yeah, the search just doesn't work. It used to work, but that was like 10 years ago. So then I'll go into girls' names. Let's see, there's another way to do this. There's a way to like to back end it. And then we get the ads, of course. So baby names, girl names, origins, themes, and meanings. And I go to girls' names. And then it's got a bunch of, okay, meanings here. So we could do river. We could do, and we have water. All right, let's just do river and water. Let's go to water first. By association or by meaning, association is fine. I want to be, give myself a lot of options. And then you get a whole long list. Amaya is really pretty. I haven't been in these A names recently. So I'll just create a brainstorm list of names that I like the sound of. Aquanetta, that sounds like a. Are there Latin people named Aquanetta, or is that just a black name? I don't know. Beverly. And then again, I want something that's going to feel. Ooh, Cherith. Cherith. The naming is mostly vibes for me. Era. I like that. EIRA. And then usually I'll just go here where I can see them all, even though it's. I'm not going to be able to get rid of this. Oh, this horrible ad. But yeah, I will go here, look through all of the names, see what's sparking joy for me. Glaw. These are Kelpie. Makara. Makara seems like a name that I would use. Moana. Nebraska. I forgot Nebraska had something to do with water. Does it? Maybe that's just a state with water. I'm not going to click on it. Niobe. If that wasn't such a Matrix reference, then that would be cool. Nolani. Nolani. I like that. Rainbow Rimarosio. All right. Let us Yara. I also like that. Let's go to check out the river names by association. And we'll just skip down to the bottom here and see what we've got. Oops. That is telling me to take a break. I keep coming back to this Cherith name. I don't think I would use it, but maybe that could be like a side character. Cimarron. Cimarron is a cool name. Just sort of scanning through, see what pops out to me. Letha, Melisson, Miriam, Neva, Nevia is interesting. Odette, Rhea, Ricky, Rhonda, Shyla, Tigris, and Zin, Vivian. Okay. I think that I've got a list of names for my main female character, a couple of names for the male narrator. Did I say narrator? I'm very tired. I have no idea what I just said, honestly. Character, if I said narrator. I really like Errol, E-R-I-L. And then at a certain point, he can be like, and my full name is Erilador. And yeah, so unless a name comes to me, sometimes this will spark other names, or I'll look at the list and I'll start moving vowels and consonants around and spell things differently to get a different name out of it. This kind of goes back to world building. So what is this culture that my main character comes from? I haven't really been defining that yet, but and I don't have anything in mind. If I'm building in a world that I've played in, which I am, but like the names, well, I can think about the story, the Ash of the Cinder story, because this is the same country. The country that story took place in is the place where the Aquatican are from, canon-wise, according to my story Bible. And the names that I had were Ash, Dawit, Chidi. I forgot the other names. They were very like African names. So I will go back and look up some of the names that I wrote down for my heroine and see if any of them have that same energy. I mean, she could have a totally different background to the characters that were in the other story, and I don't feel the need to constrain myself, but it could be a good guideline for, okay, this is how I like the sound of names in an invented fantasy world. So in part of the imaginary world building class, I have a whole module on like naming things and people and places, and I often come back to the sounds that are prevalent in a language. So I'm not going to get deep into like a conlang for this in 21 days, but at minimum, I like vibe, energy, sound of a name, and all the other people from that same place or from that same culture would have either they have similar names or their names are different because their parents came from somewhere else, or their parents were specifically trying to name them something different. That's what I did with Jasminda in Song of Blood and Stone. Everyone else from Elsera, there's a naming convention, But since her parents were, from two different places, their parents were star-crossed lovers, they wanted to give their daughter, their oldest born, a very unique name. So there's always a backstory. All right, I've got this list of names, and that is good enough for tonight. I'm very tired. I'm going to go to bed. Well, it's 9:20. I'm going to make my way towards going to bed, and then I'll pick this up again in the morning. Okay, we're back. It is part 3. Might be part 3, part 2, because I did record some last night. Although, honestly, aside from the names written down in my notebook, I don't know what I was talking about. I was tired. So it is almost 3 o'clock on Tuesday, May 5th. We have 20 days left to write the story. And having the names is really helpful. And so I did come up with a vision statement that I'm fairly, pleased with. I feel like it fits. So I want to write a story that feels like myth about the moment of change, where my thief changes her mind and decides to let the big score go out of respect for the aquatican man she may be falling for. And yeah, that just coalesced the things that are in my mind that I've been thinking about. So I think I'm going to go with the name Erilador, E-R-I, Errol for short. And as far as her name, let me go back to think baby names because I'm at the point where I think that deciding on the names, I've got my list. I think some of them are interesting. Let's see if the search is functioning a little bit. Not really. Search is the continual bane of my life, but that's fine. We can go to girls, we can go to A. We're going to look up Amaya and see what that name means. They are alphabetized. I think if I go to the bottom, okay, yeah, if I just do a search, I will find it. Basque, Japanese, the end, rain. So usually I just jot down notes about what the names mean. Another name I liked was Makira. And let's see if we go to M, find out what that means. Oh, maybe it was Makara. I wrote down, I can't read my writing, maybe that's the problem, because it was late. Swahili sea dragon. Ooh, Makara means sea dragon. That is interesting. Body of a crocodile, head of an elephant. And Nevia Yara. Yara, Cherith, Nolani. I also liked the name Nolani. Hawaiian, and it means mist of heaven, mist, misty rain. Okay, so I'm at the point where I have to choose one of these names. Amaya, Makara, Nolani. I like all of them. Night Rain, Sea Dragon, or Mist of Heaven. Nolani and Erilador. I feel like that one is calling to me. The Sea Dragon thing is very cool, but I might be getting distracted in my car. And I feel like, I don't know, Amaya or Nolani. And Amaya seems like a name I would use elsewhere, honestly, like for a longer story. So for now, I reserve the right to change my mind. We're going to go with Nolani and Errol. Those are my main characters. The other thing that I was thinking about is keeping this short. Keeping this within my grasp, keeping this under 4,000 words. And my tendency is to get long and complicated, and I'm trying to pare my long novels down. So this is about a moment in time. This is about a day. I've done short stories of this length that are multiple days, but you're really going towards something. Can this be just a moment? Can this be one situation? So I do like the idea of the thief. I do like the idea of a heist, but we're not going to be planning heists, gathering the crew together. We don't have time for all of that. We're like mid heist. The story is going to start in media res, as they say. And I feel like limiting my cast of characters on the page might be good. But you need motivation and conflict and all of that. So, and another thing about short stories, I think the really good ones, they have some kind of turn, or a twist, and not necessarily like a thriller twist, but calling it a turn is helpful. Things change, in the way that I plot. Every scene has to have a turn. Every act, books, the unit of storytelling is like duplicated in miniature at the scene level, and then at the chapter level, at the act level, and at the whole story level. So again, we're going short. So I have a collection of index cards that I keep on my desk with various things to remember. This is like my reference cards. And when I find some like writing tip or tidbit that is really useful to me that I want to be able to go back to again and again, I put it on the card. And so I'm looking through the cards. One of them says there's 3 types of goals: obtain something, avoid something, or maintain something. So her goal is definitely to obtain this object. And Jeff Gerke says that characters don't change unless it hurts too much to stay the same. So I want this to be an inflection point in her life. I want this to be a moment of change for her. Why does it hurt too much to stay the same? It's too easy to be like, oh, she falls in love and she decides not to steal the thing. Like, that's a story. But I think you can go deeper. And what is the point of pain that attracts her to Errol, and that makes his point compelling to her, and that she listens to it, and it actually causes a change in her. Like, what makes people change? And I know there's a card about that. So if I'm not subplots, I don't have time for subplots. Barely have time for a whole plot. There is laser beam focus, which is a good quote, but not. A lot of these are better for novels. They're really for longer things. Here we go. K.M. Weiland. Plot action is externalized metaphor for inner conflict. That's always been helpful to me because stories are really about characters changing and growing. And all the stuff that happens in the plot should always be in service for that. That is also Lisa Crone from Story Genius. She said that it's the constant laser beam focus on your protagonist's story-specific inner struggle that will keep you from allowing surface storylines to hijack the story you're telling. So my vision statement, I'm going to keep going back to that, which is a story that feels like myth. The thief decides to change her mind, lets the big score go. That is a thing that I'm focusing on. I'm also losing my voice. And then uncredited, I think this might have been, I think I heard V.E. Schwab say this, but this is kind of general advice. The things that a story is about. Character, what do they want? Why don't they have it? What will they have to sacrifice to get it? And why isn't it what they actually need? So I'm going to pull those 4 cards and keep those present, making sure that I remember my 3 types of goals. Actually, that one's pretty easy. Obtain something, avoid something, maintain something. Obtaining something can also be avoiding something else, right? So maybe I'll keep that out because that can deepen that motivation. She's going to change. It's going to, because it hurts too much to stay the same. And what does she want? Why doesn't she have it? Will she have to sacrifice to get it? And why isn't it what she needs? Building the motivation, I feel like everything, the character arc, the change, and the plot all come from that. And often when I'm stuck, it's because my motivation needs to be tweaked, shall we say. So now that I have a strong motivation, well, I have the core of it, the big picture of the motivation. I'm thinking, backstory, because backstory gives us the actual details of the motivation and the why she's doing what she's doing. These characters already know each other. I'm not going to have them meet on the page in 4,000 words. Although I'm trying to think. Her Majesty's Wolf was 6,000 words, and I do have them meet on the page and have a little adventure. 4,000 words is longer than I think, but it's not very long. Okay, let us return to our workbooks and see what we can see here now that we have a vision statement. I still like the treasure hunter archaeologist angle. I'm in effort to figure out her backstory. You know, there's something that has to be. I think, you know, her parents, like maybe her mother was a master forger, and you know, she's well respected in the criminal community. And Nalani is like a nepo baby. Either she's riding off the coattails of her mother, or her mother did something to tank her reputation. So this goes back to the gain respect goal. I think that in addition to, we've given him a name, we'll just call him Errol. I think heist people, leader. It's got to be some sort of big bad rival forger. She's going to end up charting her own way, like leaving her mother's shadow. That would be a nice story. Conflicts in the world. And then we end up the story development workbook with a basic creating a log line. And so, oops. A forger. Usually put an adjective there, but I don't want to use hated. I'm kind of moving away from the original prompt in my head. A legacy. Say that for now. A legacy forger. I know what that means, even if it's not completely clear. Seeking to make a name for herself. Joins a crew to steal or to plunder an ancient underwater ruin. But encounters resistance from their aquatic guide. I guess in a romance, he was the antagonist, but usually in a fantasy romance, there is another antagonist. I'm going to give us a heist guy. He's going to need a name too. We'll work on that later. A legacy forager seeking to make a name for herself joins a crew to plunder an ancient underwater ruin, but encounters resistance from their aquatic guide. There may also be booby traps. I'm going to just list booby traps. And like a curse. You know, these ancient ruins, we're going full Indiana Jones. And the antagonist and the stakes. So, goal and stakes are both super important. Why does she want to make a name for herself? So she's joined this crew to make a name for herself. Her goal is twofold. What happens if she doesn't? What happens if she does not come out of her mother's shadow? This goes back to the stakes are always death. So I think it was James Scott Bell who said, "Death. There's always death stakes. There's three kinds of death stakes: physical death, psychological death, and professional death." This sounds like a professional death situation. There also are physical death stakes, but that's not her primary motivation coming into this. Like her life might be in danger because of the booby traps, or maybe someone is trying to kill her, but I don't know if I want to go there. So psychological death stakes. I just write this down. I'm just going to put that in my notebook. Oh, I meant professional death stakes. All right, let us do some brainstorming because I need to know what that means. So we're going to come over to my notes file. Whoops. Today is the 5th. It is Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo for those who celebrate. Okay. Stakes. Contest. Like, why does she want to come out of her mother's shadow? Simple respect. Just like who wouldn't, right? Like, we're all unique individuals. I feel like this heist job she's taken on with someone her mother told her not to, so she's having sort of a defiant moment, going against her mother's wishes. And maybe her mom is like a blowhard, like, not the easiest person to get along with. I'd imagine if she's the world's greatest forger, she would probably have a little bit of an ego. Are there magical stakes? Maybe she has to do this. Is she being blackmailed? She's doing it to save someone's life that she cares about. A friend or sibling, perhaps. Maybe her father. Sometimes just brainstorming all possible things. List of 20, list of 10. I rarely get to 20, but I don't want greed. I mean, there is greed that could be there, but I like writing noble thieves, more of like I was going to say Peter Pan, but I mean Robin Hood. Like a Robin Hood thing. There could be a Robin Hood. So her mother is stolen from someone. She stole from the wrong person. Let me voice type this. Has stolen from the wrong person and is in danger unless this job is completed. That's not really, it's not really Robin Hood, but let's make that a separate one to protect. But Robin Hood is stealing from the rich, giving to the poor, wants to redistribute the wealth to the needy. She's an altruistic thief. The other thing was wants to make amends for her mother's actions, stealing from people who could not afford it. And so she gets this opportunity to join this heist crew. She can make a lot of money. She feels guilty. So that may or may not be the same as guilt. Maybe she helped her mother steal from these people who were not wealthy. And now she wants to make up for it. comma, but her mother is insensitive. So motivation and stakes. Let me go back to my vision statement and remind myself which of these might be working best. Okay, so yeah, maybe these are too altruistic for what I want the change to be. Although it does set up a really nice tension if she is stealing for a good purpose, but this is still this man, Errol, his people's, culture. And even though Ilani is stealing for an altruistic reason, that doesn't mean that it's not harmful to the people that she's stealing from. So more tension, more conflict, putting her in a position where okay. What if save her own life? Maybe her mother is gone, M dash, arrested, or perhaps died, M dash, and someone has come after her, forcing her to join this heist crew as repayment of something her mother did, period. If she doesn't do this, she dies, period. But Errol makes a good case and she doesn't want to, period. So, comma, Errol has to use his magic to help her, period. He can only use it once in his lifetime if he is average, period. It won't kill him, comma, but it will forever change his life, period. Okay, what did I say about the magic? I know you could only use it once, and most of them use it after someone has done something good for them, or I'm opening up Plotter and reminding myself what I said. If you do an aquaticant a good service, they will gift you their power before ascending and moving on to the next plane. So that actually probably is not even true, because in the short story, in Ash of the Cinders, Arendelle helped Ash's mother several years back. And he's elderly. And so he continues living. He has a little bit more magic to give to Ash, and that depletes him. But I don't think, he's also very old, so he dies. I don't know if I was saying in the story that using the magic killed him, or even if I was, I can change it. It's fine, because I think I need it to be different now. Retcon. But yeah, he does. He was ill the whole time in the story, so I think that it's fine. Yeah, I think he was just old. All right. This is the shape of a story, right? She is forced to join this heist crew. They hire a guide. Maybe he's being forced. He's somehow it's not completely voluntary, or there could be something more complicated happening with Errol and why he's doing this in the first place. He could be under a lot of strain and pressure too. He could be being blackmailed in order to do this. What aquaticant in their right mind would do this? Or maybe he was nominated by his people to go do this and make sure it doesn't happen. Do whatever you have to do to stop it. I'm thinking, is she really a forger? That doesn't quite make sense. She has some like special skill, like lock picking, or I don't know, something that was required for whatever this is. And maybe it's magical. I haven't dealt with her having any powers. I think she's mostly human, but she could be something else too. She could be one of these other creatures that exist in this world. I have lots of. I listed them out somewhere. Groups overview. Okay, we've got all of the different types of creatures. We've got the wolf shifters, birds, bears, cat shifters. And then there's fairies, pixies, demons. I think those are the ones that have appeared in other stories. So I can come up with another creature. Or she could just be human. But somehow she has this special skill. He's hired as a guide to put together. We meet them day 3 of this journey. She's having her doubts. Maybe there's lots of like myth and folklore being told. They encounter some kind of booby traps. There's like a adventure moment, and then they're coming together. We're getting our little romance hints, and every interaction, is kind of changing her a little bit. Yeah, I like this. It's feeling like first person to me. But I don't know. It's still a little early for that. So, okay, let's go back to our trying to make a logline. There we go. So we have, where's the logline? Legacy forger or criminal of some kind. Seek to make a name for herself is one goal. All right. I'm going to separate these goals because that is separate in order to save her life. Oh, so that's the stakes actually. Repay a debt incurred by her mother. And so we have this criminal joins the, I don't know what's happening here. A legacy forger or criminal joins a crew to plunder an ancient underwater ruin. Encounters a bunch of stuff. The logline will be smoother than that. Yeah, I think he is her antagonist in this. Like, there's other antagonists, but I just moved this over here because I think that the primary antagonist of the story is him. And must pay that. Actually, the stakes are really or be killed by a gangster. I don't know. Whatever he's going to be. So then we sort of bring it all together. And can I get this on the same page now? There we go. All right, so the daughter of a famous, I'm going to say forger for now, joins a crew to steal an ancient underwater artifact. I think artifact makes more sense than ruin. Although I like the idea of them going to this. Could be going to a ruin to find an artifact, maybe. But our famous forger joins a crew to steal an ancient underwater artifact. I'm just going to do stakes now to repay a deadly debt. to a dangerous organization. But the aquatic can guide for their journey. Forces her to see, that's a strong word. Convinces her. This logline is a mess, I'll just tell you that, but this is like the first pass. Convinces her of the error of her ways. Yeah, it's a little judgy. Convinces her not to. But okay. The daughter of a famous forger joins the crew distilling into underwater artifact. She pay a debt to a dangerous organization, but the aquatic guide for the journey convinces her not to. This is very similar to what it should be. It's on the path. We will refine. I mean, no one else has to see this, although it is helpful to give it for like the description. But I know what I'm getting towards, and that is the point of this. It's supposed to be a little bit messy. Okay, next step is really to do a synopsis. I think I have enough to do a synopsis for a very short story. Normally for a novel, I'd be going into Save the Cat or the 7-point plotting system. There's a lot of different structures for longer stories, but for short stories, I don't want to say I pants them because, I'm obviously planning it out, but I don't do the detail work that I would do for a book, although it is always easier and cleaner if you know where you're going. So goal is, okay, outline, then synopsis. Those are the next steps. And it is Tuesday. I would love to draft Thursday and Friday morning. So I do need a break now. Starting this later in the day is tough because I'm already tired. My brain is fresher in the morning, which is why I usually write in the mornings. But I have other stuff that I really need to be working on in the mornings too. So I'm kind of juggling this, squeezing this into the cracks. And I can feel my brain just not firing at 100%. So I think tomorrow I will start with this. I will start with my outline, do the synopsis, and see if I can get the first paragraph, because usually I need to hear the first paragraph, the first line, to get a first draft, even if that's going to change later on. That's really how my process works. And lots of tea, which is now almost hot enough, not hot enough, cool enough to drink. All right, y'all. Thank you for being here. I will probably need to go into the character workbook a bit too. Probably be filling that out as I'm doing the outline and synopsis, but really got good progress today. Got some names. I need to name other people, and yeah, there's still a lot to do, but we're chipping away at it, and we've got our focus, we've got the core. I feel like I'm excited about this story. I really want to see how it turns out, and yeah, that is it for this part. See you in the next one.